Trevor, you're the villain here, and you need to start acting like it. Faced with the hero's righteous roar, I just held the girl on each arm and gave him my most innocent look. Everyone knows the guy who gets the girl is the hero. And you, my friend, you're the villain. I've been dropped into the world of a fantasy web novel, reborn as the senior student to the main female lead and the designated rival for her affection, the villain. But I wasn't sweating it. Right now, the hero and heroine hadn't even met. I could still salvage this whole mess. All I had to do was steer clear of the main girl, Vanessa, avoid picking a fight with the hero, and I could probably keep my head attached to my shoulders. So, the plan was simple. Keep my distance from Vanessa. I couldn't let a single rumor about us being friendly reach the hero's ears. The guy I'd replaced, the original Ethan Ford, was a total simp. He'd practically lived to chase after Vanessa, showering her with attention. If I suddenly gave her the cold shoulder, would she feel the whiplash? Maybe even come looking for me? The thought was actually kind of amusing. I've never been a simp before, so I had no idea what that kind of reversal would feel like. Could be fun to find out, but I pushed that thought aside. For now, it was time to enter the rift. My eyes flickered over to where Vanessa stood a short distance away. Then I quickly looked away. The signal was given, and we all stepped through the shimmering portal. Inside the rift, Chloe was panicking. She glanced around the strange, shifting landscape, realizing that entry points were randomized. She was separated from Trevor. Her whole life at the Celestine Academy, she'd been ostracized and given cold looks because of her unstable ruin core. Trevor was the only one who told her to endure it, to just hold on. Hey, are you okay? I had just arrived myself and had only walked a short way before spotting a girl in our academy's uniform, looking completely lost. Senior, Chloe saw me and immediately gave a respectful bow. No need for all that, I said, waving a hand dismissively. You lose your group? Yeah, she mumbled. Come on, let's stick together for now. I'll help you find them, I offered with a smile, already turning to pick a direction. Oh, you don't have to. Chloe instinctively took a step back. The raw energy of her ruined core was hard to suppress, and it always drove people away. Hey, don't be a stranger. Let's go. I beckoned her forward. Seeing my insistence, Chloe had no choice but to follow, keeping a careful distance between us. As we walked, I asked, "What's your name, by the way?" Chloe. After she said it, she saw my body visibly stiffen for a second. A wave of disappointment washed over her. Was there anyone in the entire academy who didn't recoil at the sound of her name? Looked like I was about to ditch her, too. Of course, I had no idea what she was thinking. I was just shocked. Chloe? Wasn't that the name of the other female lead? Her power was unstable, sure, but that was no big deal. In the original story, the hero helps her get it under perfect control later on. That's a great name. I'm Ethan Ford, I said, turning back to face her with a genuine smile. Chloe stared, stunned. I could see the confusion in her eyes. She was extremely sensitive to people's expressions, able to spot even the slightest hint of falsehood. But she saw none in my gaze. So, there are people at the academy who aren't afraid of me. A warmth spread through her chest. You're too kind, Senior Fordham. It's just a normal name. I put on a deeply wounded expression. It's Ford. Ethan Ford. Chloe blinked, processing what I said. A moment later, it clicked. She was so embarrassed she wanted to laugh, and her cheeks flushed bright red. Senior Ford, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, she stammered, bowing her head. Don't worry about it. Let's keep moving, I said with a wave, completely unbothered. We continued on, occasionally stopping to gather some spirit herbs. I didn't think anything of the distance she kept. I wasn't about to get all up in her personal space anyway. Half a day later, while picking some glowing fruit, we ran into a beast. Get out of here. Now, I yelled. The pure terror on Chloe's face told me everything I needed to know. She was dead weight in a fight. What choice did I have? I had to hold it off so she could escape. A magic beast is naturally stronger than a cultivator of the same level. It usually takes 3 people to bring one down. Not only was I alone, but I had to protect a liability. I braced myself and blocked one of its attacks, but the force of the blow sent me flying right past Chloe, who was already running. Senior Ford, she cried, turning to help me up. You idiot, look out, I shouted, launching my sword through the air to try and intercept the beast's next attack. But I was too far away. The beast's claws lunged straight for Chloe. She spun around just in time to see them filling her vision. Her eyes went wide. In that moment of crisis, the energy inside her she fought so hard to contain finally erupted. Boom! The energy detonated on contact with the air, creating a shockwave that flattened everything around us. I was caught in the blast and thrown like a rag doll. The roar of the explosion slowly faded into silence. Cough, cough. I struggled to my feet and stumbled toward the epicenter. As the dust settled, I saw Chloe sitting limply on the ground. She slowly turned her head, probably expecting to see the same fear and horror she always did. Chloe, that was badass. I gave her a huge thumbs up, grinning from ear to ear. Who said she was dead weight? That was incredible. There wasn't even a scrap of the beast left. Chloe just stared at me, speechless. She never heard the word badass used like that, but from my expression and tone, she could tell it was a compliment. Why? She wondered. He was hurt because of my power. Why isn't he running away like everyone else? Senior Ford, your arm. Her gaze fell on my left arm, where the explosive force had torn my sleeve to shreds. It's just a scratch. I waved my slightly blackened hand. Are you okay? I'm Fine. Just drained, she said, shaking her head weakly. Here, take this spirit pill and get out of here, I said, not taking no for an answer. I pulled a pill from my storage pouch and popped it in her mouth. Chloe tried to protest, but the pill was already dissolving on her tongue. She could still feel the faint touch of my fingers on her lips. Hurry up and recover. That explosion is probably going to attract more beasts, I urged, my eyes scanning our surroundings. Chloe pushed aside her distracting thoughts and focused on absorbing the pill's energy. I'm ready, she said a few moments later, getting to her feet. That fast. I was surprised, but seeing the color back in her cheeks and how easily she moved, I didn't question it. We quickly left the area. Once we were somewhere safe, I asked, so, what's the deal with this ruined core of yours? I can't suppress it forever, she explained. When it releases, it drains all my magic, and I can't control the blast radius. This was only the second time she'd ever told anyone about her condition. The first was Trevor. I listened, then gestured dramatically. So, there isn't some ancient demon sealed inside you, and every time you let loose, the seal weakens a little until the demon finally takes over your body. Senior Ford. Chloe stared at me, a flicker of annoyance in her eyes. Did this guy have to be so weird? Her life was already hard enough without him making up ridiculous stories. Just kidding. I coughed awkwardly and started walking again. Watching my back, a small smile played on Chloe's lips. Senior Ford was a little strange, but he was a good person. The next day, we finally found Chloe's group. And who was with them but the main hero himself, Trevor? To my surprise, Vanessa was there too. Chloe. Trevor spotted her and rushed over, giving me a wary, guarded look. That threw me for a loop. We weren't even love rivals at this point in the story, were we? Why was he looking at me like I was about to steal his wallet? Trevor. Chloe was happy to see him, but then she remembered me. This is Senior. Senior Ethan Ford. She wanted to say more, to help me become friends with Trevor, but she'd almost messed up my name again. Her face went red, and she couldn't figure out what to say next. Senior Ford, Trevor said with a curt nod. He then turned to Chloe. Let's go. But, Senior Ford. Chloe looked back at me. Go on. I've got to find my own group anyway, I said with a dismissive wave, turning and walking in the opposite direction without a second thought. From a short distance, Vanessa watched the whole exchange, a flicker of confusion on her face. She had met Trevor the day before and thought he was a pretty decent guy, not like someone else she knew who did nothing but follow her around, every word a desperate attempt to please her. But now, seeing Trevor fawning over another girl, how was he any different from that someone else? Wait a minute, that someone else clearly saw her just now. Why didn't he come over like he always did? Why did he just turn and leave? It suddenly dawned on Vanessa. Shouldn't Ethan have been begging to team up with me before we even entered the rift? She murmured to herself. Vanessa, this is Chloe, a junior from my peak, Trevor said, leading the girl over. The two people standing next to Vanessa visibly tensed at the name and took a subtle step back. Even Vanessa herself frowned slightly. Chloe saw it all. Her heart sank, and she lowered her head. So it's true. Not everyone is like Trevor. and Senior Ford. She silently cursed Trevor for bringing her over, but she knew he meant well, that he just wanted her to make more friends. The expedition in the Rift was scheduled to last 10 days. I spent the whole time alone, playing it safe. I'd rather find fewer resources than risk my neck. As for finding my own companions. What companions? The original Ethan was so obsessed with Vanessa that he was lucky he wasn't a total laughingstock. He didn't have any friends. Finally, the 10 days were up, and we were all teleported out. I scanned the crowd and saw Chloe not too far away. I gave her a small nod. She nodded back, and some of the gloom in her heart seemed to lift. Had she just made a real friend? Trevor noticed the exchange. He frowned and leaned in to whisper to her, "You should stay away from Ethan Ford. He has a bad reputation. He's definitely after something." "No, he's not. Senior Ford is a good person," Chloe insisted, looking Trevor straight in the eye. Trevor was taken aback by her firm tone. "I know you want to make friends," he said, softening his voice. "Just hold on a little longer. I promise I'll find a way to help you." "Okay," Chloe mumbled, looking down, her thoughts unreadable. After returning to the academy, I went straight into seclusion to cultivate. I'd finally made it to a world of magic. I was going to enjoy the feeling of getting stronger. 3 days later. That feels amazing. I stretched, emerging from my meditative state. Too bad I'd already used up all my cultivation resources, or I would have stayed in there until the end of time, or at least until the main characters left town. Now what? I stroked my chin, digging through the original Ethan's memories. 2 options came to mind. First, take on missions to earn spirit stones. Second, go beg my master. Was that even a choice? I walked right out the door and headed for the grand hall at the top of Jade Peak. Inside the hall, I struck a pose. "Master, it is I, Ethan Ford. Spare a few spirit stones for your favorite disciple." I held out a hand, practically screaming freeloader. And then, I was outside, rubbing my sore backside. Once I was a safe distance away, I couldn't help but mutter, "My master's gorgeous, but man, she's got a temper. Can't even take a joke. No wonder she's single." Halfway through my sentence, a terrifying aura washed over me from behind. My eyes widened in panic and I bolted. A moment later, a stunningly beautiful figure appeared at the entrance to the hall. She shook her head softly. That troublesome disciple. He never used to be this flippant. "Still," she murmured, "as long as he's focused on his training, I suppose I can let it slide." I clutched the storage pouch in my hand, my heart soaring. My master really was the best. She was so generous. The spirit stones inside were enough to buy pills to get me to the late gold rank. I had been curious to see if Vanessa would come looking for me out of frustration, but now, who cares? Women would only slow down my cultivation speed. The feeling of leveling up was just too damn good. As I was heading down the mountain toward the main spire to buy my pills, I happened to run into Chloe. "Hey, Chloe." I started to greet her with a smile, but stopped short. The volatile energy around her was dangerously unstable, and she looked pale. "Senior Ford." Chloe forced a weak smile. "What's wrong with you?" I planned to just say hi and leave, but seeing her like this, I had to walk over. "It's nothing. Senior Ford, you should stay away from me. It's too dangerous," she said, quickly backing away. I stopped in my tracks. "Tell me what's going on. Maybe I can help." "It's just, my cultivation level increased, and I'm having trouble controlling it." "I can handle it," she insisted, but even talking seemed to be a struggle. She was starting to pant heavily. My eyes widened. Was this the prelude to an explosion? I couldn't just leave her here. An idea sparked in my mind. I rushed forward, grabbed her arm through her sleeve, and started pulling her up the mountain. "Just hold on. Come with me." "Senior Ford." Chloe nearly lost control right then and there. I could feel the energy radiating from her getting more and more dangerous. We were still a good distance from my master's hall. I had no other choice. "Master!" I yelled at the top of my lungs. "Master, help! Senior Ford, run!" Chloe screamed, the energy inside her finally breaking free. Boom! A terrifying wave of power, even stronger than the one in the rift, swept across the mountainside. I felt the destructive force wash over me and thought my life was over. But as the blast hit, I felt no pain. When the energy dissipated, a sharp voice cut through the air. "You troublesome disciple, are you trying to blow up my entire peak?" Master Alara stood there, her face grim, watching me climb to my feet. Thank you for saving my life, Master. I quickly bowed, then rushed over to Chloe. I casually pulled out another spirit pill and gave it to her. You okay? I noticed that a small bubble of space around her, about 1.5 feet in radius, was completely unharmed by the blast. Impressive. She had some tricks up her sleeve. Once Chloe had recovered, she stood up and bowed deeply to my master, her face full of guilt. Thank you, Master Alara. I'm sorry for the trouble. Alara ignored her and just stared at me, demanding an explanation. I scratched my head, my mind racing. Then I put on a serious face. Master, as you've always said, we are all one family here at the Academy. I was merely trying to minimize the damage to our home. Alara was speechless. Chloe was speechless. She was so embarrassed she could feel her cheeks burning. She couldn't believe Senior Ford could spout such nonsense with a straight face. Alara suddenly sighed. Fine. He's my disciple. It's too late to regret it now. I can't just kick him out. What would the other Peak Masters think? She tossed a small, circular device at me. Next time this happens, take her to the back of the mountain. This ward key will let you into the containment arrays there. I caught it, overjoyed. I knew you were the best master. Love ya. Get out. I grabbed Chloe and we beat a hasty retreat. Ha. Once we reached the bottom of the mountain, I couldn't help but let out a few triumphant laughs. Chloe scolded me gently. How can you talk to your master like that? Aren't you afraid of being punished? Nah, she's great. I grinned. Hey, she gave me a sweet deal. The least I can do is say something nice. You're still too bold, Chloe said, but she couldn't suppress a small smile of her own. From now on, don't try to hold it in. Whenever you feel it building up, come find me. I'll take you to the back of Jade Peak, and you can blow things up to your heart's content. I said, brandishing the ward key. Okay, thank you, Senior Ford. Chloe nodded happily, a weight lifting from her shoulders. Not far away, Vanessa, who was on her way back to Jade Peak, saw the whole scene and froze. In all the time she'd been at the Academy, she had never seen that kind of smile on my face. It was so natural, so genuinely happy. When I smiled at her, it was always a careful, placating expression, and I hadn't come to see her once since we'd entered the rift. No, that wasn't right. It wasn't after the rift. It was after I met Chloe. Wait, Vanessa stopped. Didn't she hate it when I pestered her? So why? Why did she feel this strange pang of discomfort in her chest? Just then, she saw Chloe wave goodbye and leave. Vanessa quickened her pace. Ethan, I was about to head to the main spire when I heard my name. I turned and saw it was Vanessa. Oh, hey Vanessa, where you been? I asked with a polite smile. It was the kind of automatic courtesy I'd learned from years in the corporate grind back on Earth. Flawless. No hint of distance in my eyes. But to Vanessa, that very lack of distance felt like the greatest distance of all. Where was the fawning? The careful nervousness? Had he found some other girl? So now he didn't care anymore? Vanessa wanted to demand an answer, but the words wouldn't come. It was just frustrating. I was just out on a mission, she finally said. Well, good to see you back safe, I replied, and then I turned to leave. That girl, Chloe, doesn't she have a ruined core? Why are you so close to her? Vanessa suddenly asked. I looked at her, my tone light. We're all from the same academy. We should help each other out. Let me ask you this. If you were the one with that condition, would you want everyone to avoid you? Vanessa froze. She imagined it for a second and realized she couldn't bear the thought. How'd I used to treat you? I continued. We barely knew each other. I was nice to you because you were my junior. But a few days ago, you were so dismissive to me, and I figured you were all grown up and didn't need me looking out for you anymore. And now you're talking about another junior from our own academy like this? Is that what you learned from how I treated you? To become arrogant and entitled? I hope you never say something like that again. If you do, I'll act like I never had a junior named Vanessa. With a final huff, I turned and walked away. Internally, I was ecstatic. Not only did that give me a perfect excuse for my change in attitude, but it also retroactively washed away the original Ethan's reputation as a simp. Perfect. Vanessa, however, was left standing there, stunned. Was that really it? All this time, it was just him being a good senior? I spent all the spirit stones from my master on pills and dove back into my training. Of course, old habits from my previous life die hard, so I wasn't a total shut-in. I fell into a routine, cultivating at night, practicing magic during the day. I had exchanged Whisper Stone contacts with Chloe, and she started messaging me from time to time. At first, it was only when she needed to let off some steam, but gradually, she started sending funny stories and observations too. Chloe, I've reached the mid-gold rank. Once I reach the prime rank, I'll definitely be able to help you. Trevor, fresh off his own breakthrough, had immediately sought out Chloe. As he got closer, he saw her smiling softly at the Whisper Stone in her hand. Oh, Trevor! Chloe noticed him and quickly put the stone away. Who were you messaging? He asked curiously. Well, Chloe didn't want to lie. She also secretly hoped that the people she cared about could all be friends. She wanted Trevor and Ethan to get along. So, after a moment's hesitation, she told him the truth. It was Senior Ford. He's still bothering you? Trevor frowned, taking a step closer. Chloe glanced down at his feet. Trevor was a good person, sure, but he never came within 3 feet of her. Ethan, on the other hand, was not only easygoing, but he never looked down on anyone or spoke ill of them. Most importantly, he wasn't afraid to grab her arm. I was the one who asked for his help. Senior Ford isn't a bad person, Chloe said, her expression serious. You don't understand. You can't judge a book by its cover. Trevor's brow furrowed, as if there was something he couldn't bring himself to say. He changed tactics. You just have to trust me. Hold on a little longer, and I promise I'll help you. Then you can make as many friends as you want. But I don't care about that anymore, Chloe said calmly, shaking her head. A friend in need is a friend indeed. That's what Ethan had told her. The ones who dared to get close to her now were her true friends. You? Trevor was shocked. Congratulations on your breakthrough, Trevor. I have to go take care of something, so I'll see you later. Chloe gave him a cheerful little wave and skipped away. This isn't right. Trevor's expression shifted as he walked down the mountain, replaying his recent actions in his head. He hadn't done anything wrong, had he? Just then, he saw Vanessa passing by. The gloom on his face vanished instantly. He walked over, a warm smile on his face. Vanessa, fancy meeting you here. Vanessa turned at the sound of his voice, and her expression stiffened. She'd spent the last few days thinking, and she had a hunch about what caused Ethan's sudden change in attitude. Yes, the first time Ethan had ignored her was in a rift. After entering, she had run into this Trevor guy, and they had traveled together. The very next day, Ethan saw them. That was when he started to pull away. Sorry, I'm in a hurry, Vanessa said with a tight smile, then quickly walked away. If it weren't for the lecture Ethan had given her, she would have just given him the cold shoulder. Fancy meeting you here? Who do you think you are? You're the one who ruined everything and made Ethan stop being so nice to me. Trevor's smile froze on his face as he stood there, dumbfounded. A moment later, his hands clenched into fists, his knuckles turning white. Why is everyone acting like this? What did I do wrong? He seethed. Ethan Ford. Aren't you all supposed to hate Ethan Ford? He ground his teeth, his thoughts a chaotic mess. I can tell you're getting better at controlling the direction of the blast. Keep it up. After the usual storm of explosions died down, I walked over and gave Chloe her spirit pill, offering a word of encouragement. As her lips brushed against my fingers, a sweet smile bloomed on her face. Trevor only ever told her to endure, to suppress her power, never caring how hard it was for her. Only Ethan praised her badass explosions and found a way for her to release them without having to hold back, even getting Master Alara to give them a safe place to do it. And yes, I had explained to her that badass was a compliment like awesome, but even better. Senior Ford, I made this for you. From scratch. It's to thank you for helping me so much. It's not anything valuable, though. Chloe took something out of her storage pouch. It was an intricately woven cord for tying up hair. I paused for a moment, then took it. If you had spent spirit stones on some useless trinket, I'd probably yell at you, I said with a smile. This is perfect. I love it. I undid the simple cord holding my hair back, letting it fall loose, then used the one she gave me to tie it up again. We left the containment array together. After chatting for a few more minutes, Chloe waved and headed off. I watched her go, thinking about how much she had changed. She smiled so much more now. It made sense. You can't just bottle up an energy like that. It's bound to explode eventually. You have to let things out, and her ruin core was no exception. In just a few weeks, she seemed brighter, healthier. It was good to see. As Chloe reached the halfway point of Jade Peak, she ran into Vanessa, who was on her way up. Chloe reflexively lowered her head, planning to give a polite greeting and quickly pass by. "Chloe, I'm sorry." To her surprise, that was the first thing Vanessa said. Chloe looked up, stunned. Their eyes met. "Can we talk over there?" Vanessa asked, pointing to a nearby pavilion and holding out a hand. "Okay," Chloe nodded. She didn't take the offered hand, but walked toward the pavilion. After they sat down, Vanessa noticed Chloe was consciously keeping her distance. So Vanessa moved over and sat right next to her, their knees accidentally touching. Chloe didn't flinch, knowing her power was stable, but she was still surprised. This was the second person who dared to get this close to her. Even Trevor, the first person who hadn't shunned her, had never been this near. They talked for over an hour about everything from funny stories when they first joined the academy to problems with their cultivation. When they finally parted, they had exchanged Whisperstone contacts. Vanessa watched Chloe's retreating figure until it disappeared, then let out a soft sigh. She was certain that if she had been in Chloe's shoes, facing that kind of rejection, she would have never been able to be so cheerful. It was only now that she understood just how noble Ethan's character truly was. "He gave me all his attention, and I just grew arrogant and embarrassed him in public," Vanessa whispered, her lips pressed into a thin line, but her eyes shone with a new determination. "Master, I'm out of spirit stones. You troublesome disciple. What do you think I am? An ATM? Well, as they say, a mentor for a day is a mother for life. So of course, you're my dear old mom. Get out." Then, Vanessa arrived at the main hall to find her master gone. Only Ethan was there, sorting through Jade Peak's financial ledgers. Her eyes softened, and she walked over quietly. "Senior Ford?" I heard her voice and looked up. Seeing it was her, I gave a wry smile. "Master drafted me. I'm doing paperwork. Let me help you," Vanessa said, walking around the stone desk to sit beside me. I couldn't help but glance at her. Her actions, her tone of voice, they were so different now. This girl was like a completely different person from the one in the original Ethan's memories. "Well, thanks, Vanessa. Here, take a look at this one. Right? And then you total it up like this." The quiet hall was filled with the soft sounds of their conversation. Outside, a smile graced Alara's lips, a strange light dancing in her eyes. When she first became a peak master, she had been incredibly unsure of herself, worried she wouldn't know how to properly guide her students. That's why she had always taken so few. But now, seeing her two disciples so motivated, especially her eldest, who was finally taking on the responsibilities of senior and helping his juniors, she felt a deep sense of relief. "Perhaps I can take on a few more disciples during the next recruitment," she thought with satisfaction. "Can't let that troublesome disciple get lazy." With that, she turned and left, deciding it was time for a well-deserved vacation. 3 days later, I was in the courtyard outside the hall, explaining the finer points of spell. Vanessa and Chloe were both there, and seated around them were several other junior girls. They had heard that with my help, Chloe's power was no longer a threat, so they were finally willing to get close to her. They even asked her questions about her ruin core. In the past, just hearing those words would have made Chloe's heart ache. But now, her ruin core was something Ethan had praised again and again. She no longer hid it, but spoke about it openly. As for Vanessa, the other juniors used to avoid her too, thinking she was arrogant and aloof, coasting on the seniors' special treatment. But Vanessa cherished this new acceptance. Before, everyone, including Ethan, had only ever tried to flatter her. It was only after Ethan's rebuke that she had a wake-up call. Now that she had changed, the other girls were willing to talk to her freely, without the flattery and fake smiles. This was what she had wanted all along. Vanessa and Chloe both watched me, their eyes bright and full of admiration. That day, I was preparing to go to the main spire to buy more cultivation pills. Even though my master had me doing chores and mentoring the other students, she made sure I was never short on spirit stones. Maybe that was the benefit of having a master with so few disciples, unlike other peak masters who had hundreds. "Senior, when you go to Goldstone City, can we come with you?" Vanessa asked. She and Chloe were walking on either side of me. "I could just go by myself," I said, shaking my head. "I was just picking up necessities for the peak. It was a dusty trip. Why drag more people along? Please let us come." Vanessa hooked her arm through mine, her voice soft and pleading. She shot a look at Chloe. Chloe's cheeks turned pink with embarrassment, but seeing Vanessa's success, she took a deep breath and grabbed my other arm. "We want to go too," she said softly. Fine, fine. You can come, all right." I surrendered immediately. These two had been so well-behaved lately. This sudden pincer attack was more than I could handle. "Thank you, Senior." "Thank you, Senior Ford." Vanessa and Chloe were both beaming, but neither of them let go of my arms. "What are you two doing? This is hardly proper," I grumbled, though secretly I was kind of enjoying it. It was just new. Vanessa was content to just gently hold my arm, but Chloe was mischievously tracing patterns on the palm of my hand. "Ethan Ford." Just as we reached the bottom of the mountain, a figure leaped out in front of us. It was Trevor. Vanessa frowned. Chloe, after a brief moment of surprise, tightened her grip on my hand. I glanced at their reactions, then turned to him. "What's up?" Trevor's face was twisted in a savage snarl, his eyes bloodshot. "Ethan Ford, you're the villain. What right do you have? What right do you have to fight me for my women?" he bellowed. My mind reeled. How does he know I'm the villain? That's not right. In the novel, Trevor wasn't a transmigrator. Was it possible someone else had been reborn as Trevor, just like me? Chloe had already spoken up. "Trevor, what are you talking about? What do you mean, Senior Ford is fighting you for your women?" "Chloe, you're supposed to belong to me, not this villain." Trevor raved. "And you, Vanessa, you belong to me too." Vanessa's face went cold. The man must have lost his mind to be spouting such nonsense. Chloe frowned. "What do you mean, belong to you? I've always thought of you as a brother. What's wrong with you?" Trevor's mind seemed to shatter. He stumbled back a step, gasping for air. Then his eyes locked onto me again. "Why? We switched places, but they still chose you. Are you using some kind of dark magic? It doesn't matter. As long as I kill you, they'll go back to normal." He lunged, his body a blur. The speed was incredible. He must have used some forbidden technique. He threw a palm strike straight at my head. "Look out!" I shoved the two girls away and braced for the impact. But he was too fast. I was about to have my head turned into pulp. "Insolence!" a sharp voice cried out. Splat. "System error. Host mission failed. Initiating host erasure. Returning to original world. No rewards will be granted." A loud ringing filled my ears, and the world spun before I blacked out. Senior Ford. Ethan." Dimly, I could hear the voices of the girls and my master. Images flashed through my mind, like a dream, but more real. In this other life, I was the brother Chloe spoke of. Trevor was the senior of Jade Peak. I was the one who encouraged Chloe, taking her outside the academy on the pretense of missions, so she could release her power. Then I met Vanessa, who used me as a shield to fend off Trevor's advances. The three of us grew close. Then one day, Trevor snapped and attacked, killing us both. And then, somehow, I became the senior of Jade Peak, and he became Chloe's brother. But he didn't even know how to copy my homework properly. He never changed his arrogant personality, so what good did switching our roles do? In the end, the girls still chose me. And so Trevor tried the same murder-suicide plan again. But what was that cold, electronic voice? I didn't remember having a system or a mission. Was I being sent back to my old world? No, that can't be right. Cultivating was fun, and I had no family to go back to. I didn't want to leave. "He's stirring. Senior Ford, are you awake?" I heard voices and my eyes fluttered open. The first thing I saw were the worried faces of Vanessa and Chloe leaning over me. "What happened? Where's Trevor? Did he hurt you?" I asked, rubbing my head. "Master killed him," Vanessa explained. "Well, she said she didn't. She said Trevor just dissolved into dust on his own." Huh. I blinked, remembering the cold, robotic voice. Could it have belonged to Trevor? It made sense. After all, I hadn't been erased, and I wasn't back in my old world. "Senior Ford, I'm so sorry. I never knew Trevor was that kind of person, and I kept calling him my brother. I'm so glad you're awake." Chloe started to cry, wiping at her eyes with the back of her hands. "Hey, I'm fine, aren't I?" I smiled, patting her on the head. 6 months later, in the containment array at the back of Jade Peak. Boom! After unleashing her power, Chloe collapsed onto the ground, exhausted. I immediately went over, pulling her into my arms and feeding her a pill. After that, I started to help her up to leave, but she tugged on my sleeve. "What's wrong?" I asked, confused. Chloe's face was bright red. Did you kiss Vanessa yesterday?" she asked, a hint of jealousy in her voice. I want one too." I was stunned for a second, then I couldn't help but laugh. I had no idea how those two had worked it out, but they'd apparently decided to split my days between them. Besides, I'd only kissed Vanessa when I thought no one was looking. How did this one find out? Whatever. I looked down at the beautiful girl in my arms, her eyes hopeful and shy, her lips trembling slightly. I leaned down and kissed her. Chloe let out a soft sound, her body going limp against mine. When we left the array, her face was still burning. We happened to run in my master, and Chloe got even more flustered, lowering her head so far her neck turned red. Master Alara watched us go, her expression unreadable. That troublesome disciple, she thought. Romance will only slow down his cultivation speed. Foolish. Absolutely, utterly foolish, and